At some point in the not too distant future, we're going to see the release of Insomniac's Wolverine for the PlayStation 5. At this point in time, all we have for the game is the reveal trailer, which doesn't have too much to tell us about the game, save for some small details and Easter eggs. Everyone wants to know what the gameplay will be like, if it'll be open world or linear, or when it's supposed to take place. But the biggest question that fans have about the game is who will actually be voicing Logan. When Spider-Man was first revealed back at E3 2016, we immediately got to hear Peter Parker's voice, and he was quickly recognized as Yuri Lowenthal. But not a single word was spoken in the Wolverine trailer. Everyone wants to know, who will be Insomniac's Wolverine? There's plenty of popular picks online. A lot of people think that they should get Hugh Jackman to voice him, for obvious reasons. He's played Wolverine for over 20 years now, and has voiced him in video games in the past. He's inseparable from Logan.
You sure as hell didn't work out like we planned, but that doesn't mean giving up. This world may be broken, but I've got just the tools to fix it.
Another popular pick is Cal Dodd, who played Logan in X-Men the Animated Series. This would also be a great pick, since he defined how Wolverine is supposed to sound. He's also personally the voice I hear in my head when I read Wolverine comics.
I know what you're thinking, punk. Question is, can I get Wolverine before he turns me into shish kebab with those claws? Humbug. Seeing as how these claws are adamantium, the strongest metal known, and can slice through vanadium steel like a hot knife through butter, buddy. You gotta ask yourself, do I feel lucky?
The most popular choice among fans to play Wolverine in the new game is easily Steve Blum, one of the biggest voice actors in the industry. He's voiced Wolverine countless times, and there's a ton of people who feel that he is as definitive a voice for Wolverine as Kevin Conroy was and still is a definitive voice for Batman.
Elva, the guy who put the war in New Warrior.
You're gonna need that bucket to carry around your severed head. Ain't ready for the big leagues yet, kid. Back to the minors with you.
There's other less common picks who still make a lot of sense, like Mark Hamill and Scott McNeil. I would be happy if any of these actors were picked, but there's another actor who's never played the character before who I think would be perfect. My personal pick to play Logan in Insomniac's Wolverine is David Hayter. You may or may not recognize that name. David Hayter is an actor and writer whose career spans decades. He was actually the screenwriter for the original X-Men movie from the year 2000, so he does have experience with the franchise. While he hasn't played Wolverine, he did actually voice Captain America in Spider-Man the Animated Series.
That hardly seemed worthy of the Red Skull.
Yes, because of us, he wasn't able to fully charge his doomsday robots.
Kind of ironic that a Canadian would play Captain America. But neither of those are the reason why I think David Hayter is a good choice for Wolverine. While his screenwriting credits are definitely feathers in his cap, and it's neat that he's played another Marvel hero in the past, David Hayter is best known and celebrated for his work in the Metal Gear Solid franchise, where he voices the series' protagonist, Solid Snake.
This is Snake. Do you read me, Otacon?
Loud and clear, Snake.
Kept you waiting, huh?
As well as also voicing the younger incarnations of the character Big Boss. Metal Gear Solid is my favorite gaming series of all time, and a large part of it is David Hayter's performance. Just to clear some confusion, I'll quickly go over the difference between Solid Snake and Big Boss. The Metal Gear series timeline can be split into two eras, the Big Boss prequel era, and the Solid Snake present era. It started with the original game from 1987, simply titled Metal Gear, where Solid Snake was the protagonist, with Big Boss as his commander who gave him orders over the radio, until the ending twist revealing him to be the villain. Every game, from the original Metal Gear up until Metal Gear Solid 2, took place in Solid Snake's era. After Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 was a prequel, and the first game in Big Boss's era. Now, why are these two different dudes basically identical to each other? You see, Solid Snake is actually a clone of Big Boss, a detail that wouldn't be revealed until Metal Gear Solid. He was one of 3 clones, with the other 2 being Liquid Snake, the villain from Metal Gear Solid 1, and Solidus Snake, the villain from Metal Gear Solid 2. No, there's no Gas Snake. You got all that? Okay, good.
Why, I'm
Snake.
What kind of fool do you take me for? He's Snake! He's Snake! You're Snake! I'm Snake! know about?
Kept you waiting, huh?
I'm out of here.
Also, Metal Gear refers to various gigantic bipedal nuclear-equipped war machines from throughout the series, and the games typically revolve around the bad guys having a Metal Gear and Snake having to stop them. At the start of Metal Gear Solid 3, there is no big boss. Snake is sent on a secret mission to the Russian wilderness to rescue a defecting Soviet scientist named Sokolov. Assisting Snake over the radio is a woman codenamed the Boss, a legendary soldier who helped lead the Allied powers to victory during World War II. Snake and the Boss share an incredibly close bond, having not seen each other in years at this point. But just as Snake is about to extract Sokolov and finish his mission, the Boss appears before them. She announces to Snake that she's defecting to the Soviet Union, and she beats Snake in combat and throws him off the bridge and into the river below. As a result of this failure, several days later, Snake is sent right back on a mission called Operation Snake Eater, where, among other objectives, Snake has to assassinate the Boss. Throughout the game, Snake expresses doubt about if he'll even be able to kill the Boss when the time comes. You can hear in his voice how he's torn between loyalty to his country or loyalty to his mentor.
You handle the escape then. I'll head for Groznygrad.
Wait a minute. There's something I wanted to ask you.
What?
What's the story between you and the Boss?
She was like a mother, and my master.
And your lover?
It went deeper than that.
Deeper?
Half of me belongs to the Boss.
Do you love her?
No, nothing like that.
Do you hate her?
Does it have to be one or the other? Love or hate?
Between a man and a woman? You bet.
For 10 years, we lived and died together. You couldn't possibly understand.
And you think you can kill her now? That's your mission, isn't it? Assassinating the Boss?
At the very end of the game, after Snake is successful in finishing his mission and eliminating the Boss, he returns to America and is awarded the codename of Big Boss. He also learns around the same time that the Boss's defection was simply a ruse. In truth, she was sent on a mission from the US government to defect to the Soviet Union only so she could steal the Philosopher's Legacy, which is essentially just a really big stockpile of cash amassed by America, Russia, and China to use in case another world war ever broke out. It was under Soviet control at the time, and Uncle Sam really wanted it for themselves, so they staged the entire affair. Snake is rather offended by this, so he leaves America behind. By the time Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker starts, Big Boss is pretty reserved and dejected. He doesn't even want to be called Big Boss, preferring to just go by Snake. By the end of Peace Walker, he started his path towards villainy. He had always wanted a world where soldiers were valued and honored, instead of being exploited like the Boss was. That ideology morphed into Big Boss wanting to create a world of perpetual conflict, so soldiers would always be in demand. He was going to achieve this goal by being the one to perpetuate that conflict, leading his army of soldiers whose countries didn't want them anymore, to fight on behalf of whoever needed them.
We will forsake our countries. We will leave our motherlands behind us and become one with this earth. We have no nation, no philosophy, no ideology. We go where we're needed, fighting not for country, not for government, but for ourselves. We need no reason to fight. We fight because we are needed. We will be the deterrent for those with no other recourse. We are soldiers without borders, our purpose defined by the era we live in. We will sometimes have to sell ourselves and services. If the times demand it, we'll be revolutionaries, criminals, terrorists, and yes, we may all be headed straight to hell. But what better place for us than this? It is our only home. Our heaven and our hell. This
is outer heaven.
This brings us to Solid Snake, who is much like his father in many ways, but completely different where it counts. He was created to be a weapon for the Patriots, a mere tool for a clandestine organization which ran the world from the shadows. Born sterile, with a reduced lifespan, his capacity to leave an impact on the world which outlasted his own life was limited. These circumstances were enough to drive the other sons of Big Boss to villainy. Liquid Snake despised his father, since he was essentially born to live in his shadow, driving him to try and bury Big Boss's legacy by achieving Big Boss's goals and surpassing him. Solid as Snake despised the Patriots, having an even shorter lifespan than his brothers, and having been their puppet for his entire life. Solidus sought to destroy the Patriots by weaponizing their AI systems against them, leaving his own mark in history rather than following the role that the Patriots had written for him. Solid Snake was born under these same exact circumstances, but he didn't know the truth behind his birth until well into his adult life. By the time he knew he was a clone, he had already defeated Big Boss years prior. This revelation shook him, combined with his shortened lifespan, as well as carrying a virus encoded to infect and kill Liquid Snake. Solid Snake had to live with the fact that he could perish any day, at any moment, all due to circumstances he had no control over. However, rather than following in the footsteps of his father and brother before him, and striking out against the world that had conspired against him from his very conception, he decides to use what little time he might have left in this world, and try and make it a better place, the best way he can think of. Snake dedicates himself to stopping Metal Gear from ever threatening the world again, and he does this by teaming up with his scientist buddy Hal Emmerich to sabotage Metal Gear development programs worldwide. Snake does not let the man he was cloned from, or the circumstances of his birth define his life. He chooses to be his own man, fight for his own beliefs, and be defined by his actions.
Where to, Snake?
My real name is David, Otacon.
I'm Hal, Dave.
Oh, that's right. Hal. Hal and Dave. That's a good one. Maybe we should take a trip to Jupiter.
So where you going, Dave?
I think it's time for me to look for a new path in life.
A new path?
A new purpose.
Will you find it?
I'll find it. I know I'll find it.
Alright, I know. This video was supposed to be about Wolverine, but you just got a crash course on a video game series you might have never even heard of before clicking on this video. But you heard the clips I played. Doesn't he just sound like Wolverine?
See you in hell, Liquid. That takes care of the cremation.
Obviously not his speech patterns or vocabulary, but the vocal performance is very Logan-esque. And I don't just mean that his voice is deep and gravelly, that's only part of it. David Hayter is able to perfectly capture the emotions and inner conflicts in his characters, which is why I think he's distinctly suited to voicing Wolverine. Wolverine and Solid Snake are very similar to each other, in the sense that they both put on cold, gruff exteriors, but on the inside are deeply compassionate, and have a strong desire to protect the innocent.
Where's your allegiance, kid? Us or them?
If I don't say you, will I get thrown out of this jet?
Nope, not our style. We've either earned your trust by now or we haven't.
You.
Welcome to the X-Men.
Well, I've got to go save the doctor. You should go.
I'm going with you.
No way. You're still too green. I want you to hide somewhere.
I'm not green.
Oh, yes, you are. You pause for just 1 second in front of your enemy and it's all over. Good luck doesn't last forever.
I don't know what happened. I just couldn't pull the trigger right away. I never had any problems in training, but when I thought about my bullets tearing through those soldiers' bodies, I hesitated.
Shooting at targets and shooting at living, breathing people are different.
Ever since I was a little girl, I always dreamed about being a soldier. Every day of my life, I've trained my mind and body for the one day when I could finally see some real action, and now...
So what now? You want to quit?
I can't quit. I can't allow myself to quit now.
Listen, Meryl, everybody feels sick the first time they kill someone. Unfortunately, killing is one of those things that gets easier the more you do it. In a war, all of mankind's worst emotions, worst traits come out. It's easy to forget what a sin is in the middle of a battlefield.
But this isn't a war. It's a terrorist action.
You're just a little jumpy from the combat high. The adrenaline in your bloodstream is starting to thin out. Just take it easy.
But I learned all about combat high at the academy.
We'll talk about it later. For now, just think about keeping yourself alive.
They're both extremely proficient in battle, having been engineered to be the perfect killers. But they're self-aware. They take no pleasure in it.
I'm the best there is at what I do, but what I do isn't very nice.
I'm no hero. Never was. I'm just an old killer, hired to do some wet work.
They both manage to climb out of their pits of solitude and dedicate themselves to helping create a brighter future. So the next generation hopefully won't need men like them anymore.
You don't be what they made you.
Then, what am I supposed to believe in? What am I going to leave behind when I'm through?
We can tell other people about having faith. What we had faith in. What we found important enough to fight for. It's not whether you were right or wrong, but how much faith you were willing to have. That decides the future.
In conclusion, I think I've made a strong case for David Hayter playing Wolverine. He is an incredibly talented voice actor, and his voice would be perfect for Wolverine. And he's Canadian. Now obviously whoever's going to play Insomniac's Wolverine has probably already recorded all of his lines, and Insomniac isn't going to see this video and immediately fire whoever they already have and replace him with David Hayter. This video will be outdated as soon as we get another trailer for this game, and if I don't work fast enough, that might happen before I even finish making it. I suppose if you're even watching this and I made it in time, if it was too late, I just canned the whole thing. My point being, I do not expect David Hayter to be Insomniac's Wolverine, and I'm positive I'll be happy with whoever it will be. I'm personally expecting Steve Blum. And I have seen that David Hayter has teased this on Twitter in the past, but I'm not taking that as proof that he's Insomniac's choice. It could be just him trolling his fans, which is a practice I have bore witness to many times. It does, however, show that David Hayter would be interested in playing the character. So even if he's not Wolverine this time, I'd really enjoy seeing him play him in the future. Let me know how you feel about this in the comments. See ya.